Well, it looks as though I was right about the direction of where AI is going and what the whole AI collapse and bubble thing is going to be. Yes, it's February, so it hasn't even been like 6, 7 months yet. But Qwen, a company owned by Alibaba, right, has released Qwen 3.5 122B A10B. If you don't know much about AI in the naming sector of all that stuff, it means the model that they release has 122 billion parameters normally, which means it can't run on a consumer PC. That requires a server or at least a PC that has multiple GPUs in it in order for it to run that model. So it would have to load that entire model into the memory and then be able to access it. Loading that entire model into the memory would require something like 150 gigabytes of RAM or VRAM, whichever. But that would require a massive amount of resources, something that a standard PC can't really run. But then the A10B part means it only loads 10 billion of those parameters into the active memory or the active system, which means you can actually run it on something that has much less RAM, much less resources, a single GPU, and you can probably run it on something with about 10 gigs of a 10 gigabyte GPU, even a 15, 20 gigabyte GPU will run this just fine. Or for instance, a computer with just a lot of DDR5 RAM at its access, a powerful CPU and a lot of DDR5 RAM will be able to run this because it is a reasoning model. It is not a image model. They have an image model section to this, which Vision adds the ability to process images, and I don't know if it generates images. There's not a lot of information out on what exactly it's capable of as of yet. But this is exactly what I said would be happening in the future with AI, especially with what's going on in the AI bubbles, that more AI companies are going to lean away from these massive AIs with these massive data centers, and they're going to lead towards AI that can run on consumer hardware, basically. So a high-end computer, something that doesn't require 2, 3 GPUs, but just a high-end computer, might be an expensive computer, but it can still run on that one computer. It doesn't require server farm to run the AI, so that you can run it locally and you can be secure. You don't have to be online. You can be on network so that you can have more security to your system. This started last year with DeepSeek's new model that came out in November, December time, where it would actually reduce the amount of resources it had. It reduced it by quite a bit, but still, instead of requiring basically 10 data centers, you require like 9, basically. So it's a big reduction in resource requirement for the same output. Now, with this model, that resource reduction is not the same as DeepSeek's reduction. Yeah, DeepSeek was big, but this one is basically when I needed 10 data centers, now I only need 1 to do the same thing. I only need 1 data center of processing power to actually give me the same exact results, because yes, it's giving the same results because it is using the same 122 billion parameter model to give loaded 10 billion, which means it's only using and running off 10 billion, but it has access to that full 122 billion model at any given moment. And I don't think people realize how huge this is going to be as of yet. While most companies right now that are popular with AI, like Grok and ChatGPT and Gemini, they're using bigger and bigger models to get better and better reasoning and better results. But they're also requiring more and more resources to do it. So they're trying to build more and more data centers to support their ability to use it. This model is doing the exact opposite. It is actually trying to be more and more like ChatGPT and Grok and everything, more and more reasoning, more and more things to be function, but is also at the same time trying to use less resources. And with this version, it is using a massive amount less resources. Basically, they took the concept of the registry from Windows in layman's terms, well, computer terms, and they just put it into the AI where the AI is not loading every program on your computer all at the same time. It's loading the one you're using right now. Or basically, if you want to think about it much simpler, more general terms, you have a deck of cards. You still have that full deck of cards, but you're only using one at a time when you pull the deck of cards. Or when you're playing a game, you're only using like 5 of those cards. You still have all 52 of those cards, but you currently only have 5 in your hand, and you're using those 5 in your hand. The fact that you're not going to be affected because you still have that full deck of cards. When you put down your cards, you can pull cards from it. You can change out, but you're still keeping 5 cards in your hand. So you still are able to play the game the way it's supposed to be played, and you're still using the same amount of stuff as before. Whereas other things, because they're ways to create models that are much smaller, like distillation, which is basically you get that 52 deck of cards and then you go through and you get rid of stuff you're not going to use. For instance, if you have like a full deck and it has 2 extra jokers, you get rid of the 2 extra jokers. They're technically, it's still a deck of cards, but you're missing the jokers. Then you get rid of all the kings and all the queens because you're playing a game that they're basically not needed. You don't matter if you need them or not. So now you still have a deck of cards. You can still play your game, but those things are missing. So if you actually need the king or queen, you don't have access to it because it's gone. Basically, in those models, you have summarizations of things that should be there. So instead of the full works of all Shakespeare written, you have Shakespeare was this person and here's a summary of his work. Much smaller, still gives you the most useful knowledge, but if you go and you try to do stuff with Shakespeare and you do a research on Shakespeare, it won't be able to function because that is not something that it has access to. Now, this is exactly what I said was going to happen, that companies are going to go towards finding ways to have their AI function on more consumer grade hardware, more hardware that's readily available, less data centers. That way they're able to be used more available and they don't have to put as much money into those AIs in order for them to function. Now this leads one step into, oh, now I can actually go and pay for an AI. Right, I can pay maybe $500 and then this company will send somebody out and they'll install it on a system that is local and disconnected from the internet. So I have a private system, completely secure, no possibility of hacking because it's completely offline, but it runs everything I need it to run. It has all my orders can come in. I can load into it all my order information, all my other information, and it can keep track of it. It can do all the things I need an AI to do without having to be a massive system, without having to connect to a server. Imagine if banks were using this. They can use, because banks use their own networks, you can load this AI into multiple banks at the bank level. Even each bank can have this loaded into their system from the bank level, which means every person that comes into that bank will have all their stuff stored on just that local system. They can do all they need, and then they can share their information between the AIs in the bank's network. Meaning all your information for all your banking information can be secure and safe. Then no possibility of people hacking into it because it's not on the general network. But at the same time, you can get all the advantages of a large AI like ChatGPT or Grok or anything else like that, even like Gemini and stuff. You can have all those benefits and you can be able to do all the things that you wanted it to do, but at the same time, keep your system overhead costs low and keep your reliance on an open network completely not there. And I think this is going to change the way a lot of AI companies are going to be doing things going forward, especially this year, massively, because they already see that this is being done. And this is a Chinese, Indian like company. It's not a US based company, and US based companies don't seem to be getting the hint that they need to dial back their reliance on hardware and ramp up their reliance on software and design in order to get their AI systems to stay at the top, and not just stay at the top, but make sure they're profitable. Because imagine if ChatGPT did this, which is currently going through pretty much a collapse, they can reduce their resource requirement by 10x, and they can still keep all their functions. 10x resource reduction is billions of dollars. Billions would it be of dollars they would save almost overnight. So just think about that. A lot of these companies, they're going to look at this and they're going to say, how can we get this done too? And that's going to be the new race with AI that's coming up very soon. It's not just about building the largest model, the most efficient reasoning model. It's going to be about building the model that, yes, is large also, but is also best at performing on software and hardware that is consumer friendly. Because that's going to be the next step if AI is going to become actually second place and commonplace, it's going to have to be reduced in resource dependency. The hardware that we currently have cannot support a lot of what these AI gurus and these AI people say that we need, and how AI is going to function. The hardware we currently have does not support it. This way actually might actually change that completely. Now, whether that's good or bad, I don't know, but I'll have to test it. I do have my system currently set up. I have a Linux system that I'm going to be converting to do some AI work, not like doing a bunch of creative work for me, but more like general management tasks that I want to get done to get my company back off the ground and my writing back off the ground. And I'll probably test out this model. I was actually just going to use DeepSeek because DeepSeek is more what I need, because summaries and making sure I have stuff, because DeepSeek is very good at understanding writing. So getting a model that can read your stuff and go, hey, yeah, this is missing, or this is what I have for you so far. That is generally DeepSeek's, well, what it excels at. But I will test this version because it seems as though it's about to be even about the resource requirement, because I'm using a 14B version of DeepSeek and this is 10B. Granted, requires a lot more space, so probably just load it onto a flash drive, like I have Linux running from a flash drive, doing all this stuff from a flash drive so that it can be portable, take it wherever I want, plug it into any computer and just have it do the work there. But I think this is going to change the way AI functions altogether. And the AI dream that we have of AI cars and houses and all this stuff, talking and all this stuff, this might actually be possible now, that you have a version of AI that can actually not just require massive amounts of hardware, massive amounts of processing power, massive amounts of cooling. It can require a lot less of it, and soon, hopefully, even less. Which means hopefully soon they can distill this down, well, not distill, but get this version of whatever they want to call this down to the point where maybe you can run a full AI on your cell phone without having to connect to the cloud to have it do your work on your actual cell phone. That'll be cool. Whether or not that'll be good for economy, I'm pretty sure it won't be that good for the economy. It probably won't, but it might be cool. It also means AI may get a direction change, a very useful direction change, finally, where people don't think AI is going to be the end all be all and can do anything, because as we've seen from the past few months, going on to like a year now, with all the AI not functioning the way they should, that AI is a specialized tool and should only be used in specialized instances. It can do a lot, but it cannot do as much as we think, not even close. So hopefully we have some things to look forward to, and I'm gonna look forward to seeing if I can test it out and seeing if it runs on a consumer grade, well, basically consumer grade hardware. Anyway, hope you guys have a good day. Talk to you in the next one.